Hello, and thank you so much for serving on this Sunday, September 29th, 2024. I'm going to give you a quick walkthrough of what to expect this Sunday. I'm going to start with just some information for everyone to know. One of the things that we had talked about at the training was cleaning up your materials at the end of when you serve. So if you have extra copies, if it's lesson plans or just copies for that specific activity, just throw those in the garbage. If it's copies like extra copies of the take-home sheets, those can be dropped off in the check-in space so that parents can take those home. If you have extra materials that are not paper, then they will come back to this cabinet. I'm in the alcove of the second and third grade classroom. If you look inside of here, you see all of the different materials are organized in here. So you just kind of look through here and find where the materials that you used are labeled and where they would go. If you're unsure where to go, you can just toss them in that bin at the top. It's kind of a myriad of random things that we use for our lessons. So if you could take the time to just clean up whatever materials are left over after you have taught that day, that would be really helpful. One way to do that is to have one teacher stay with the kids when you are down to less than 10 kids to be checked out, while the other one is kind of throwing away those extra copies and returning the materials so that you're not having to stay after all the kids have left. And now this is the same as we've done every week since we started with this new curriculum back in August. When you go to your check-in huddle, you're going to be grabbing an iPad for your classroom as well as a walkie-talkie. Make sure you have those with you at all times, especially my 4th and 5th graders. If you are going upstairs, you need to make sure that you have these with you when you go up so that you can be reached if there is a message about when to come back downstairs or anything that you need to know about a student. Okay, and now I'm going to briefly go over the lesson plan that is the same for our kindergartners and first graders as well as our second and third graders. They're going to have the same lessons the first half of the school year before we shift those second and third graders up to the older lesson plan. So this beginning, if you are just teaching small group this time, you're not teaching large group. If you are just teaching kindergarten, first grade, or second and third grade, this part of the video is for you. So looking in here, on top you have some Bible prizes for kids who remember their Bibles. The cart is set up the same every week. They are labeled. On the top shelf is your lesson plans as well as your take-home sheets. So your lesson plan is set up the same every week. They are color-coded and labeled. So you're going to start with Belong from 10 to 10:10, which this is also on your schedule, which is on the board. Memory Verse Sunday has a different schedule, but the other Sundays all follow the traditional schedule. They are labeled with the dates on the board. So when you look at your lesson plan, the timing is listed on there. So 10 to 10:10. And when the kids are arriving, they're still going to be coming in around then, but one teacher does need to do the Belong activity starting at 10, which this week it's possible, impossible. So if you turn the page, it is color-coded blue, and it does say Belong there in the corner. It is scripted if that is what you are comfortable with. If you prefer to use your own words, that is great too. It lets the kids connect with you more, but you do want to prepare for that. So you want to look over your lessons so you kind of know what to expect when you guys are doing this activity. And as you see, there is a printable page that goes with it. So when you look back at your cart and your Belong, there is your printable page that you'll be using to read off of as a teacher. So after the Belong activity, right around 10:10 is when you're going to be going to the large group classroom. At 10:15 is when the large group lesson will begin, and it will run until 10:48. That is the hard stop time for that to be finished so that you can be back to your classroom by 10:50. You're going to move into your Believe activity at that point. It is color-coded this light orange. It is titled Part the Red Sea. So if you turn your lesson plan, you see that light orange. It says Believe there in the corner, Part the Red Sea. You don't need any materials other than Bibles for this, so the students should use their own Bibles. If they need additional Bibles, they are stacked on the chair over here. They can also share. Following that, we jump past this and move into the Become activity, which is color-coded light purple, and it does say Become in the corner. It is prayer pictures. The kids will need paper to do this, so that is right here. And then following that, the last two things are our discussion questions, wrap up and discipleship discussion. Discipleship discussion is awesome because it really focuses on the concepts that are in our story, how they affect us today in our lives. So our story this week is about the Red Sea. That's what they're going to be studying in the large group. So together, we're going to talk about how does God give us hope in this story of the Red Sea? And so this says, what about how God is involved with people? So thinking back to how he was involved with saving them. And so this is a great way to kind of look at how he is involved with us today as well. So you'll have paper in there to do your Become activity. These questions, they can go at the end, or you can kind of sprinkle them in. If they're working on something, you can talk to them while they're working and have those discussions with them at the same time. So this is what our kindergartners and first graders and second and third graders are doing this Sunday. If you are just teaching small group, you can stop the video now if you don't want to know what's going on with large group. And now I'll be going over what the fourth and fifth graders will be doing in their small group. So fourth and fifth graders, before I show you your lesson, I want to show you this quickly. On your schedule, it does show you what you need to take with you upstairs. So following large group, our fourth and fifth graders go upstairs. They need to make sure that they bring the class iPad, Bibles, the upstairs key, the lesson plans and materials for the Believe and Become activities, as well as that walkie-talkie. I forgot to list that, but that is pertinent that you have that walkie-talkie with you so that you can hear when it is time to come back downstairs. So same as always, these are in your labeled bins by the activity. And so your lesson plan and your take-home sheets are in the top shelf, and they are color-coded. So Belong is blue, Yes Way, No Way. There is a printable page, actually 3. One that you're going to read off of as a teacher, and 2 that will need to be displayed in the classroom for the kids to be able to run to answer the question, either yes way or no way. And then they'll go to large group, which will begin right at 10:15 and run through 10:48. At 10:50 is when you'll be back in a classroom. So after large group is over, you will go upstairs with those materials that are listed on that schedule, and you're going to do your Believe activity, which is color-coded that light orange, Share His Love. And you can play music from a worship playlist here. I'll send you a link for a good worship playlist that you can play while they're doing this activity and looking at that memory verse. Following that, they go into their Become activity, which is color-coded light purple, and you're going to see that on this page here. It's titled One-Handed. They're going to need string to do this, so you'll see it here on this shelf. Make sure that you put it in the yellow bag to take upstairs with you for them to complete this activity. You can see that here. And then the other 2 discussion parts that we do is the wrap-up, which is where they answer that me question that they said at the beginning of when they met in large group. They're going to choose a challenge for the week and pray together. And then you're going to go into your discipleship discussion, which is the same as it was for our other small groups that we already discussed. It's a way of looking at this week's story and applying those same concepts to the real world and lives that we're living today. So that is what you need if you are teaching 4th and 5th grade. So if you are teaching 4th and 5th grade small group and you do not want to see the large group lesson, then this is where you can stop watching the video. And finally, for my large group teachers, here you have your schedule. There are 2 copies of it. I'm going to start running 3 copies in October to have a tech helper have their own copy. But on here, you're going to start with your welcome, which if you, with your partner, you want to discuss before Sunday who is teaching what. What we have done in the past that has worked is one person does the Bible teaching and the other person does parts 1, 2, 4, and 5 because they're much smaller. So the welcome is here. We are cutting out the intro video this week because it requires passing out clipboards and papers and coloring utensils to all of the kids. So we are skipping that. But there is an activity here with 2 colors of ping pong balls as well as a hula hoop. So those are here. Make sure you read through the plan so you can understand how that activity is going to be set up. And you're setting your questions for this week, the he, the we, and the me questions. Then you move into your Find It in the Bible, which you want to direct them to looking up above the board and how this week's story about the parting of the Red Sea fits within God's big story. And you're going to show here, and you're going to show them where this is located. Sorry, I'm not sure what that is. Where this is located in Exodus 13. Following that, we move into the Bible teaching, which is really the meat of the lesson. This is going to take about 10 minutes. You pray together, and then you guide them through Exodus, the story of the parting of the Red Sea. In order to do this, you do have the 2 blue tablecloths, and so you're going to want to read through when the slides are to be changed and also when the tablecloths are to be used, how they should be set up on the stage. So you want to look through this lesson before Sunday morning. And it ends here with the point to Jesus. How does this story lead us to Jesus? Then we're back to the next section, which is the review. You're going to watch the review video first, and you're going to do these questions. There are slides for all of these things, so you can put them up on the TV. What's nice is this is just a thumbs up or thumbs down for true or false when they're answering those. And then finally, the wrap up, you're going to answer the he and we questions that you set at the beginning of the lesson. The me will take part in small group later. Talk about the bright idea. the monthly memory verse we have already done, so you can actually skip that part to save some time. So the biggest thing to remember when you're teaching small or large group is to keep an eye on your time. It's really important that we stick to the schedule so that they have enough time as a small group, because that's when they're going to have discussion afterwards. So it says to do the ping pong ball activity as many times as you can with the time limit, but that time limit is only 8 minutes. So it's going to be a little bit shorter than what we would love for it to be. During the wrap up, you can cut out the memory verse video because they've already done that memory verse in the sanctuary last Sunday. If you're out of time, that's a good place to cut for some time. And so that is it for this week. Thank you guys so much for serving. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me anytime. You can find my phone number on Planning Center. Give me a call, text me, or you can ask me anything in person. Thank you guys for serving. We'll see you on Sunday.